Hey guys, it's Sarah. We gotta unhaul some books. Story time. We just moved into our new house in Florida and I had 19 boxes of books. 19. That's a lot of books. And when I was unpacking them and rearranging my bookshelves and trying to figure out where all my books were gonna go, I was prepared for a little bit of an overflow. I have 5 bookshelves total that I can fit my books on. But when we lived in New Mexico, I had 2 built-in bookshelves that were surrounding my fireplace. Obviously, I couldn't bring those with me because they were built into the house. So I knew I was gonna have some overflow because there were books on that shelf that I did not have room on my normal bookshelves for because they were full. So I knew coming in that I was gonna have a little bit of an overflow. But I wasn't prepared for how much of an overflow I had. I found myself very overwhelmed with the amount of books that I had, and I found myself struggling to figure out what was going to go on my bookshelves and where the extra books were going to go. And I had a little bit of a panic moment where I looked at my husband and I said, I have too many books. And then of course he had to chime in with, I've been telling you that for years, babe. I don't know what you want me to say. And I know. But it was much easier in New Mexico when I had a place for every book, and now I don't, and it really got to me and it really put things into perspective. So what I did was I went and I watched Kayla's Unhaul challenge, and I will leave her video linked down below. It's an original Unhaul challenge that she created, and I said, I'm gonna go through my bookshelves and see if I can do this. And I was very brutal. I was very honest with myself. If I've had books on my shelves for 4 or 5 years that I just, would I pick this up today and read it? Probably not. Okay, then it needs to go. If it's been on my shelf that long and I'm still really just not interested in reading it, then it needs to go. And there are some books that I got rid of that I have read, but I'll never read again. I just won't. And some books that I'm holding on for silly reasons, like, come on, Sarah, let's be real. This is going to be taking up valuable space on your shelves. And I got really honest with myself about it. My husband did ask me if I wanted to get another bookshelf to house my books, and I told him no. I said, no, I don't. I have 5 bookshelves. That's enough. And when the movers were bringing in all my bookshelves, I just went, oh my gosh, that's so many bookshelves. And I don't want to bring another one in. I really, truly don't. And if I do bring another one in, I'm just going to get more books to fill that up. And it's going to be a never-ending cycle. So I want to keep the bookshelves that I have. I want to keep them full, but I need to make that my limit. So after this unhaul, all the books I'm going to show you that I'm unhauling, everything that's on my shelves now. I have enough space for all of the books that I own, and I'm going to use this as my guideline. So I am not going to be allowed to buy any more books until I have space on my shelves to fill. And that is going to be a very good guideline for me, I think. And it's not going to focus on any numbers or anything like that. It's just going to be, do I have physical space to put this book? If I don't, I can't get it yet. If I do, then I can get it if I really want it. And I need to make sure that I'm doing that because I don't want to create an overflow again. And yes, it's going to mean I'm going to miss out on, some book sales or library sales or, things like that. But I have to be realistic about what I can house and where I can put it and make sure I have room for that. Otherwise, I'm just going to get overwhelmed again and it's going to be too much. And yeah, it was a whole thing. I had a whole moment. It was not my finest moment, but I was very, very overwhelmed with the amount of books that I have. So because of that, I did the Unhaul challenge. I'm going to show you what I'm getting rid of. I'm getting rid of more than 30 books, and I'm very proud of myself for that. I'm very proud of myself. So let's go through the challenges and I'll show you what I picked. There's only 10 questions, and since I'm getting rid of more than 30 books, obviously I'm going to have multiple books for almost every single challenge. And some of these may not fit into a specific challenge. I'll just throw them in there when it kind of makes sense. But I started out using the challenges only and just started pulling books, and then I just started really pulling books without looking at the challenges. So let's start. All right, challenge number 1 is to unhaul a book that you rated low. For this one, I kind of looked at 3 stars or below. And I didn't really have anything that was below 3 stars, but I did have a couple books that I rated 3 stars. And for me, looking back on them, like, they were fine. They were okay. I will never read them again, ever. And I kind of went that way. Okay, for this one, I have 3 books that I know I gave 3 stars to, and 3 stars for me is very middle of the road. It's not something that I loved. I didn't hate it, but I also didn't love it, or I didn't live up to my expectations, but I still enjoyed it. So kind of very just middle of the road for me. So the first one is The Perfect Girl by Jilly McMillan. And I enjoyed this book. It was a good thriller, but I wanted more out of it, and I felt the characters weren't fully developed, and I was left with more questions at the end than I felt like I should have been. After finishing a thriller, you should have most of the answers, and I felt like there was a lot still left unsaid and unanswered. So this one didn't quite live up to my expectations for a thriller, especially because I've heard very good things about her as an author. I do want to read more of her work. I do have another one of hers called What She Knew, and I do want to read that one. I have that one as well, but I've heard better things about that one than about this one. So this one was fine. I enjoyed it, but I'll never read it again. I don't necessarily think this is an author I want to collect her works of, but yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and pass this one on. The next one is a recent read, and that is Everything I Never Told You by Celeste Ng. This one definitely did not live up to the hype for me, and I don't even want to say I really enjoyed it. I gave it 3 stars because it was written really, really well. The writing was beautiful. It was great, but the story really lacked for me. I did not care about any of these characters. I didn't care, and I didn't feel a lot of sympathy for them, which I really felt like I should have. And yeah, I don't know. I didn't like it as much as everyone else has loved it and, you know, sings its praises. I just like, I don't get it. I don't know. Again, I do want to read more from her. I would like to read her newest one, Little Fires Everywhere. I don't think I will buy it. I'll probably get it from the library, but yeah, so I want to give her another shot as far as, you know, her books go, but this one it was 3 stars, very middle of the road for me. Then the last one is another recent read, and it was one sent to me by the publishers for review, and that is Unburied Carol by Josh Mellerman. And this one was very interesting. The story was interesting. The way it was written was very interesting. It was something I had to get used to. I've never read anything by him before, so I was left really spending a lot of the book trying to get used to his writing style and trying to get used to, you know, what's real and what isn't. There's a lot of kind of things in here that I was left guessing whether or not they were really happening. And yeah, but overall the story was good. I enjoyed the story. I enjoyed the premise of it, but I still kind of, I don't really know. It's really hard for me to rate this one. I did give it 3 stars just because I felt I spent a lot of time going, did that really happen? Or was that an imagination thing? Or is this person hallucinating? Like, what is actually happening here? So it was just, I don't know. It wasn't enough that I could give it 4 stars or above, basically. And it was fine, but just again, getting very picky about what's on my shelves, and so this one's gonna get passed on to someone else. Challenge number 2 is to unhaul a book that you have changed your mind about. Now this one can be a little bit interpreted, and it can either be a book that you have read that you've changed your mind about over time, maybe you feel a little bit differently about it now, or it could be a book that you bought that you had every intention of reading, but something has happened since then that you changed your mind and you actually don't want to read it anymore. So I'm gonna show a couple of examples of both of those things. So the first 2 that I have are books that I have read and kind of changed my mind about a little bit. It's tricky. Okay. First one is The Devil Wears Prada by Lauren Weisberger. I'm actually surprised I grabbed this because this used to be my favorite book of all time. And since then, obviously, it's not even in my top 10 anymore because I have read some amazing books that are just, but it's definitely different. And I feel like if I read this now, I would not feel the same way that I had felt about it before. I feel like my reading tastes have just changed. So I still do love this book and I have great memories of reading it. I've actually read it twice and I really enjoyed it. But at the time when I was reading it, this was my niche. This was the kind of books that I really like to read. Now I'm really straying away from these types of books, and I feel like they're more fluff than anything. So I think I'm going to just hang on to the memories of enjoying reading it a lot, but I don't need to have it on my shelves because I do not plan to read it again, because I really feel like if I read it again, it's just not going to be a favorite anymore. And so I'm going to go ahead and pass this on to someone else. But yeah, so I was surprised I picked it up because this has always been, like, I've always said this is one of my favorite books of all time. But yeah, I think I've definitely read 10 more since reading this one that I've liked a lot better, and just because of the quality of the content in the book. But I do still love it, and the movie's great too. But yeah, so I'm just gonna let someone else enjoy it. And this next one is a book that I enjoyed while I read it, and since then I've kind of forgotten a lot about it. So it's just one of those types of things, and that's The Ambassador's Wife by Jennifer Steele. And I love this cover. Like, it kind of hurts me a little bit to get rid of this because the cover is so beautiful and it feels really good. It feels very, like, you know, velvety, and oh, it feels so good. But I don't remember a whole lot about what actually happened in this book. I know that an ambassador's wife was kidnapped and, like, kind of the things that happened around that. And I remember bits and pieces of it, but, you know, it didn't make a big impact on me, basically. So I just don't feel like I need to keep it on my shelves. So I'm going to go ahead and pass this on. And the rest of these are books that I've changed my mind about on actually wanting to read them. The first one is Moses, A Life by Jonathan Kirch. And this is a nonfiction book. It's supposed to be about Moses, but I was a little hesitant when I bought this in the beginning because I wasn't sure if it was going to be a biblical book or if it was going to be more, you know, like, I'm not trying to disprove that Moses was a real person, but it's hard to read a nonfiction book about somebody from biblical times without, you know, people questioning things. So I was a little nervous when I bought this anyway. I got it like super, super cheap when a bookstore closed, but yeah. So I think because of that, I'm just gonna go ahead and pass this on. I don't know if I'll actually ever read this or not, so we're just gonna move on. And this next one is another one that I've just, you know, I'm not gonna actually read it, and that is Killing Jesus by Bill O'Reilly and Martin Dugard. And the reason I'm not gonna read this is because I just watched the TV movie adaptation of it, so I feel like I got enough from that versus actually reading the book, and I'm totally fine with that. I think I got this at a used bookstore as well, but I really do feel like watching that really gave me the background and the story of what is written in here, so I just don't feel like I need to read it now. This next one is one that I picked up at a library sale, and it was like 10 cents or something. It was ridiculous. That is The Psalm Killer by Chris Pettit, and I don't know anything about this book, and I'm just, I don't know, I picked it up and thought I'd give it a try, but that was 4 years ago, and yeah, I haven't read it yet. I never have the urge to pick it up and read it, so I'm gonna go ahead and just say goodbye. And the last one in this category is Chain Letter by Christopher Pike, and I actually picked this up fairly recently. I think within the last year. I found it at Goodwill, but I don't know. It was written in the 80s, so it's like an 80s thing, and I just don't know if I read it now if it's gonna make a big impact on me, or if I'm gonna care, or if I'm gonna think it's cheesy or whatever. So I think I'm just gonna go ahead and pass this back on and let someone else enjoy it who I think would maybe enjoy books written in that decade. And that's the thing, like, this isn't a book set in the 80s, it was written in the 80s. So I'm kind of like, I don't know, I don't think I'm going to enjoy it all that much compared to what I would be able to read published this year, basically. So I'm going to pass this one on. Challenge number 3 is to unhaul a series you won't be completing. And this one, I didn't have like a full set of series or even like a couple of books from a series that I didn't plan to complete or plan to start. I do have a lot of unread series on my shelves, but I genuinely am interested in starting them. So for this one, I do have 2 books though, and they are both one book from a different set of series. So the first one is The Queen of the Tearling by Erica Johansson. I do plan to finish this trilogy, but I don't plan to buy the books. So I don't plan to buy books 2 and 3 and have them on my shelves. I did read this one. I did really like it. I gave it 4 stars, and I do want to continue. I just don't feel like I need to own the trilogy, so I'm going to go ahead and pass this one on, and I will get the other 2 books from the library and read them that way. And yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this one. And this other one was a stupid buy, and I got it because it was at the dollar store, so I only paid $1 for it. And this one is You Will Never Find Me by Robert Wilson, and I got this because I really liked the size, and it's, you know, a good floppy paperback, and it's like, oh great. And then I got it for $1 and then got home and realized it's the second book in a series, and I don't know how long the series is, and I just, why did I buy a second book in a series when I don't have the first one? I've never even heard of it. What am I doing? And so I'm never gonna read this. It's fine. Number 4 is to unhaul a book that you DNF'd. I don't have any books that I DNF'd. If I DNF something, I get rid of it right away, and I did that before we left New Mexico. So I literally don't have any books that I've started and not finished or plan to finish. Like, there's probably 1 or 2 books on my shelves that I did start but I haven't completed, but I do plan to. So I don't really have any for this one. Challenge number 5 is to unhaul duplicates of books that you own. And the only one that I have is The Book of M by Pang Shepherd. And the reason I have 2 copies of this book is because I have an ARC, which the publisher sent me, and then they also sent me a finished copy when they have those available. So I have 2 copies of it. I'm gonna go ahead and unhaul my finished copy because I do prefer the ARC. It's like the tall, floppy paperback that I love so much. I love that size and all that. So I'm gonna read from that one and go ahead and unhaul this one and then keep my ARC. But yeah, so this is literally the only one that I have 2 different copies of, besides Harry Potter, but obviously those are going nowhere. Challenge number 6 is to unhaul books that you'll never actually get to, and this is probably one of the bigger categories in this challenge because there's just so many that I'm just never gonna get to these. The first one of those is a book that I've had on my shelf for probably more than 6 years, at least. I know I bought it in Tucson, and been a while since we lived in Tucson, and that is A Long Way Down by Nick Hornby. I've always had every intention of reading this, and every time I thought about unhauling it, I changed my mind, but I think I'm just gonna go ahead and let it go this time because, again, as I was scanning my shelves, I grabbed it and I was like, wait, do I want to? Yes, I do. So I'm just gonna go ahead and get rid of this one. I'm just never gonna get to it. If I haven't already, I'm not going to. Another one is The Signature of All Things by Elizabeth Gilbert, and I picked this up because I wanted to give her another shot and read some of her fiction work because this is the same author who wrote Eat, Pray, Love, which I hate. That is probably my most hated book. I hated that book so much, and I hated the movie too. I don't like her as a person, and I don't like the premise of why she even wrote that book. So I just was like, I'm gonna give her another shot though, because she's supposed to be a great author and blah, blah, blah. But every time I look at it, I'm just like, ugh, her, I don't like her. So because of that, I think I'm just gonna go ahead and let it go and just not worry about it. She's not for me, and it's fine. This next one is a very recent pickup that I got at the thrift store in New Mexico, but I'm never gonna read this. The Princess of Ireland by Edward Rutherford. I don't know why I picked this up. I think it was a big chunky book and it looked great and it feels great and blah, blah, blah. And oh, it sounds kind of interesting. I'm never gonna read this. And I flipped through a little bit and read a couple of passages and I was just like, I'm probably not gonna enjoy this. I don't know what I was thinking. I was thinking it was 25 cents at the thrift store, so I'm gonna go ahead and grab it. And yeah, so I just, buyer's remorse on this one. And this next one is Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. I don't think I'm ever gonna read this. I have read Pride and Prejudice before and it was fine. It wasn't my favorite. I didn't love it as much as everyone else seems to love it, but you know, I enjoyed it, and I just don't think I'm ever gonna read this. I think I would see the movie for sure. If it like popped up on TV or something, I'd probably watch it, but I'm not gonna read it, so it's okay. Challenge number 7 is to get rid of books that you bought because of the hype. I buy a lot of books because of the hype, but a lot of them I still am really interested in reading. So this one's a little bit difficult, but I do have 3. And the first one is Talon by Julie Kagawa. And yeah, I don't know. Like, I've heard mixed things about it. I heard really good things about it until I bought it, and then I got mixed reviews. I'm like, well, crap. So, but I know a lot of people who read a lot of fantasy and kind of this type of fantasy, and a lot of them have said this was just okay. So I'm like, well, if it's not even genre I'm fully comfortable in yet, and it was just okay for people who love that genre. I'm probably not going to like it all that much. So I'm just going to go ahead and say this is not going to happen. This next one is actually a book that I didn't buy. It was sent to me by the publisher, but I did accept it because of the hype, and that is We Were Liars by E. Lockhart. And I enjoyed this book. I gave it 4 stars because I went into it knowing what the twist at the end was. I had been spoiled for it. So I didn't enjoy it as much as if I hadn't known the twist. I probably would have enjoyed it more, but I still enjoyed it. But I'm just never going to read this again, like ever. And I will probably read more of her work eventually. I'm not jumping up and down, you know, excited to read more of her stuff yet. So I'm just going to go ahead and let this one go. I just know that I'm not going to ever read this again. So yeah. And this next one's a little bit of a weird one, but I did buy it because of the hype. I'd heard really amazing things about this program and everything, and that is It Starts With Food. And this is by Dallas and Melissa Hartwig, and they are the creators of the Whole30. And I did a round of the Whole30 a while ago, and I was successful on it actually. I think I lost like 14 pounds on it. A lot of that is like water and salt and excess weight and all that stuff. You kind of getting all the toxins out of your body. So a lot of it was that. But this is definitely something that is not meant to be a lifestyle. It's supposed to be a 30-day thing, and you do it every so often, or, you know, I guess however often you want, but it's not really supposed to be something that's sustainable for a lifetime. And I don't know if I'll ever do a round of the Whole30 again. I did keep the cookbook because some of the recipes I actually really enjoyed, and they're healthy. So I'm going to keep the cookbook, but probably just pass this one on. Challenge number 8 is to unhaul books that you bought because of the cover. Aren't we all guilty of this? Cover buys for sure. I did find a couple. The first one is The Stars Never Rise by Rachel Vincent. I have no idea what this book is about. I think it's like a young adult, kind of a sci-fi fantasy type thing, but I'm just not interested. I don't know why I bought this. Book Outlet. Thanks, Book Outlet. But it's got a beautiful butterfly on the cover, and I love butterflies on the cover. That's one of my things. So if I see a butterfly, I'm immediately like interested in what the book is about. I just need to start getting more picky about that. So yeah, this one's gonna go. This next one is Boneshaker, and this is by Cherry Priest. This is a sci-fi book, and I think it's like a steampunk era. I don't know that I'm interested anymore. I was when I picked it up, and I had heard a little bit about it, but I'm never gonna read this, so yeah. And the next one is another Book Outlet purchase, and that is A Paris Apartment. And this is by Michelle Gable. I hope that's coming up. It's like with the lights, it's hard for white books to show up. Yeah, the cover is absolutely gorgeous. And I think it has to deal with a woman who goes to an apartment and is kind of appraising some stuff after someone had passed away, and she finds some secrets and stuff. I don't know. I'm not really interested anymore. And this was definitely a cover buy. I love the white in the background, and I love the font on it, but I'm not gonna read it. And challenge number 9 is to unhaul some books that you just don't know anything about. And this is also one of the bigger categories. The first one is Freedom by Jonathan Franzen. I don't know if I'm ever gonna read anything by this author. And the one thing that scares me is that this was an Oprah Book Club selection, and I tend to not enjoy books that she has selected because a lot of them are literary fiction, a lot of them are deeper than my brain can go sometimes, or I read it and I'm just like, I don't understand why everyone loves this book. That's happened quite a few times, so I don't know. I just really, truly don't think I'm ever gonna actually read this book, so I'm just gonna go ahead and pass it on. And this next one is another dollar store find. I need to stop going to the dollar store and buying books there. All right. 4th of July Creek by Smith Henderson. I have no idea what this book is about. This was also kind of a cover buy for me. It feels really cool. Like you can feel the indentations of the wood grain here, but I don't know what it's about. And I got it for $1 and I don't know why. No, it's fine. And the last one is The Killing Song by P.J. Parrish. I've never heard of this author. I've never heard of this book. I don't really know what it's about. I'm pretty positive it's like a detective thriller type thing. I don't know if it's part of a series. I don't know. I just picked it up at a library sale randomly, and why? And the last challenge is to unhaul some books that you didn't buy. So they were either sent to you or gifted to you from somebody, or you got for free or something like that. I have a couple here that were sent to me by publishers unsolicited, and I looked through my ARCs because I had a feeling that's where most of like this category would come from. And I had to look at my ARCs and say, okay, what was sent to me unsolicited? So that means I did not agree to read and review it, or I did not accept it. They just sent them to me. And I looked at those and said, okay, which of these, like if they had contacted me, I probably would have passed on or, you know, not accepted it or whatever, because I wouldn't have been interested. And there were two. So the first one is called Your Second Life Begins When You Realize You Only Have One. This is by Raphael Gordiano. And this has been translated, I think, from French, I want to say is, yeah, I think this was a translation from a French book recently. I read the premise and I don't care. So I don't think that this is something I would ever read. And it's not something that, like, if they had contacted me and asked if I'd be interested in reading and reviewing it, I probably wouldn't have taken it. I probably would have passed on it. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and pass this one on. And the other one like that is called Frankie by Siobhan Plaza. I don't know anything about this book. I want to say it's kind of a family drama, and it has to deal with some either adoption or finding your real family or something like that. And yeah, like, okay, I just don't think I would pick it up on my own, and I haven't even seen anybody reading or talking about it, and this came out in November, so I'm good. Okay, and the next, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 actually didn't really fit into a category. So I will just talk about them really quickly. And so the first four are Christian books. And this first one is 31 Days of Prayer by Ruth Meyers and Warren Meyers. And it's just, you know, I guess about praying or certain things you can pray for, which is fine. I just have a lot of Christian books, so I had to really go through my box and kind of pare down a little bit and what I'm realistically going to read and what way I would realistically pick up, and this didn't make that cut. This other one is a devotional, and it's called Be Still and Let Your Nail Polish Dry, and this is one that I've actually read through quite a bit of this already, so I feel like I've gotten a lot out of it already, but it's not something I think I would go back to, and I have a lot of other devotionals that I would probably pick up just because I have gone through some of this one already. So I'd probably pick up a new one versus, you know, going through this one again. But yeah, it's like a devotional for women on the go. So for people who don't have a ton of time to dive in, but they want a little bit of something every day. So it was good for that. And this next one is Separated by Duty, United in Love by Shelley Vandervoort. And this has a lot to do with like deployments and, you know, staying strong through a deployment and leaning on God while your husband is away and all that. And I just don't know that my husband's gonna be gone. Definitely not in the job that he's here now in. And yeah, if he ever does leave again, it's gonna be a very, very long time from now. So I don't think I'm gonna really need this one, luckily. This next one is a book that I have read recently, and I enjoyed it when I read it. I just don't feel like I'm ever going to read it again. But that is Crossroads by William Paul Young, and I did really like this, but, you know, again, not going to reread it and need to be very picky about what I'm keeping on my shelves. And this last one, oh yay! Okay, I bought this when we lived in San Antonio, so that was a very long time ago. It was probably at least 2009, 2010 when I read this book. Or when I bought this book. I haven't read it. I don't ever plan to read it. Okay, so Mike Huckabee. This is called Do the Right Thing. And I went to his signing at a Barnes & Noble and got this book signed. It's not personalized, it's just signed. So I got to meet him. He was very, very nice. But I think this was when he was probably running for the primaries and for president. So yeah, I feel differently about him now than I did back then, for sure. Like when I bought this, I was gung-ho. I was on his side. I voted for him in the primaries and everything. But since then, he's a little bit too conservative for me, I would say. I think he just leans to the extreme. And I don't necessarily agree with all of his decisions and all the people he supports and all that. So I'm like, So I'm not going to read this for sure. I was only holding on to it because it's a signed copy. But again, I need to get picky, and I don't think I want to keep a book just because it's signed, just to have it on my shelves. So I'm good. and I haven't picked it up. There's dust on the top. I'm not going to read it. Whether it's signed or not, it doesn't matter. Basically, I'm not going to read it, so I need to just focus on that and just pass it on to someone who maybe would read it, or, you know, who would get something out of it, but it's not going to be for me. Okay, guys, that's it. I just unhauled 32 books. 32. I'm so proud of myself. Some of those were a little hard to let go. Some of them weren't, though. Some of them weren't. Some of them I pulled them off my shelf and I'm like, nope, nope, nope. And I didn't have any second guesses about it. So that's good. And that's a good hint that I have too many and that I need to start being really picky about what I'm buying. I really, really do. I need to be more selective in what I'm buying and be more realistic about what I'm going to read, and don't buy something just because the cover's pretty. Like, make sure it's something I would actually pick up and read. So, yep. Big reality check when we were moving. Apparently that's what it took. It took not having enough space on my shelf, and it's okay. I needed that apparently. So I'm good. I'm completely at peace with everything I'm getting rid of, and I'm excited to get them out so that I can focus on what's still on my shelves and start reading those things. And I actually want to start, you know, being very intentional about what I'm picking up so that I can maybe pick up some books so I can create some shelf space. I know that there's books on my shelves that I may read it and know that I'll be okay getting rid of it afterwards. And because of that, I really want to be more selective about what I'm picking up to read, and just, you know, try to do that so I can make some room on my shelf so I can go book buying again when I want to. All right, I'm done. These books are going. I'm not gonna be able to send them out, you guys. Unfortunately, shipping books is not cheap. And so by the time this video goes up, they will already be donated to local places around here. So, all right, that is it. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And again, if you want to check out Kayla's original video down below, she got rid of some books from her shelves too. I think she got rid of like 20. And so that's pretty good for her. You know, she doesn't really unhaul books all that much, but she definitely gave me the motivation to get rid of some of mine as well. And I will leave her video link down below. Okay, that's it. I'm rambling on at this point. So I love you guys, and I will talk to you guys again soon. Hope you have a great day. Bye.